Hi, my name is Henry Sanders. I'm the CEO of Madison 365, and I'm here with my good friend Maurice Cheeks, the Alderman Maurice Cheeks. Do we call you Maurice? What would you want me to call you right now? For the camera, I know. If it's just us, I said Mo. But what would you?
You know what?
Alderman Cheeks.
All my friends call me Mo. You're welcome to call me Mo. My mom has finally jumped on. She calls me Mo now too. So it's just
your mama calls you Mo.
It's all over with. Everybody calls me Mo.
Say Mo.
Yeah.
So if someone sees you on the street, then they call you older person, future mayor.
I get that one a lot.
Future mayor?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, that's no pressure there.
No pressure.
No, none at all.
No.
Okay, well, Alderman Mayor, our Mayor, or Mo, or Maurice.
Whichever one you like. Yeah, just do Mo.
I'm gonna go Mo. Okay. So, Mo, I want you to tell a little bit more about yourself. They know about Madison 365. We'll talk about a little about you and your district and your being an alder person, what that means.
Yeah, so I've been on the city council since 2013. I have the great fortune of representing the most diverse district in the city. I represent everything from Tacoma to Allied and sort of everything in between, Midvale Heights, Orchard Ridge, Dunn's Marsh.
Well, that's a huge gap of wow.
Yeah. It's a microcosm of the city, you know. For me, it's an honor, and it really leans into a lot of sort of my personal experiences growing up as a biracial black man, having to navigate a lot of different worlds in the first place, and moving to Madison, seeking opportunity. You know, I moved here for career opportunity. I moved here when Apple hired me to work with schools all across the state of Wisconsin. But having, that sort of professional experience in working in a lot of different types of communities, having a personal experience of having to navigate a lot of different types of communities, and for that matter, just having a commitment to trying to bring people together. I love this district, and frankly, that's why I love the city, is because our city is such a increasingly diverse place that has so much potential, so much upward mobility.
So, as an alder person, that's the real work. That's the real job. That's when you're answering the calls. You're really in the meat. How do you do the become an alder person? What makes you want to do that, to jump to running to be mayor? Walk people through that process of, I'm an alder person, I'm in this wonderful district.
Yeah.
You fundraise a lot of money being an alder person, right? You fundraise. So, you can stay, the point is you can stay there forever and just be an alder person and just sit there and be comfortable, probably.
Sure.
What made you decide to say, I'm going to take that jump and run to be mayor?
So, to step back, the same thing that prompted me to want to run for alder in the first place, right? So, I, before I was, in politics at all, before I was involved in politics at all, I was tutoring in the schools. I was tutoring at Memorial for a couple of years, twice a week. And the reason why I started getting more invested in the schools is because, as someone who had moved here and really saw a future for myself here, I felt like I need to make sure that I'm giving back to help shape the next generation, right? As somebody who, now is growing a family, I wanted to prioritize service. That's always been, I originally went to school to be a teacher. Again,
you didn't know that?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, okay. I originally went to school to be a high school computer business teacher. And the reason why was because, growing up, I knew that I wanted to be of service, but I didn't know too many ways to do that, right? I feel like I grew up in a very blue-collar, middle-class neighborhood, but like a lot of kids that look like me, frankly, I never interacted with doctors or lawyers. I never interacted with politicians or anything like that. And so as I thought about how to be of service, teacher was very obvious to me. And so it was that same motivation to be of service that got me involved in our community, involved in our schools. And ultimately, as I started to see that sort of huge gap between how radically diverse our schools are and how not diverse a lot of professional environments are, and how not diverse at the time the city council was. I just started to think about how can I make an impact at more of a macro level, and it was around that same time that I started to develop an appreciation for the fact that, for all the energy we put into who's going to be the president and who's going to be the governor, so much of the quality of life stuff that we care about, that we take for granted or that we brag to our friends about, having safe schools or, safe streets or beautiful, community or great parks or
safe schools,
all these
too.
things,
Yeah.
safe schools, yeah, that's right. All of this, so much of this is determined at the local level. And so at the age of 28, I'm looking at the council, and there were no African Americans on the council at the time, except for the student district. I don't think there were any young people on the council at the time. And I thought, our community is growing more diverse and it's literally getting younger. I'm not sure that my perspective, that my generation's perspective, that my friend's perspective is represented here. And so I just wanted this as a way for me to be of service. And then something weird happened. I fell in love with it. I fell in love with.
You fell in love with going to weekly meetings, sit at the city council meetings for hours, committee meetings. You fell in love with
that part's interesting.
Okay.
But
I'll take interesting.
But I fell in love with the work of local government, of the work of bringing community together, of making the table bigger, to be able to fit more people's voices into it. Again, representing the type of district that I do, that's the challenge and the opportunity, right? And so having some success doing that, having my district re-elect me and say, you're doing a pretty good job, I start to think seriously about is it possible for me to bring my unique perspective and the assets that I think that I bring to the table and avail myself to the broader city. As you know, being an alder is it's an exciting opportunity to be a part of the action, but most of us are straddling the fence in terms of our life, our careers, right? Being an alder doesn't pay as if it's even part-time. It's, we don't calculate the hours because we're not getting a living wage. Like, we would be in trouble if we calculated the hours. And so we maintain a professional job. I'm the vice president of a big data software company. And so, I'm just sort of at a place where I know I have more to give, and finally answering those questions over and over of, will you run for mayor? I'm really excited to do it. I'm really excited for this moment in time that our city is in, and I know that I can be a part of helping us sort of live up to our own expectations.
So you earlier mentioned that. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from a small town in Illinois, sort of a south suburb of Chicago called Madison.
Oh, close like Madison, huh?
We got to over-enunciate. We call it Madison, but when I'm here, I have to say Madison.
Okay. So I see one of the Illinois people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And when you decide to run for office, you're not just running for office. Your wife was running for office, and you have this beautiful baby. How old? Two. So how old are your babies?
Hannah is 2.5, and Cyrus is 5 months.
Good Lord.
It's a good time.
It's a blessing, right? It's an amazing time. Yeah, amazing, busy time.
It's busy.
So how does Mo go from being older person, being busy, having a full-time job, being married, being a good husband, and being a father of two? Really, those are really babies. How did your wife go through that process and say, "Yeah, Mo, let's run to be mayor. Let's send the babies. Let's take them." And I've seen you in the videos. I've seen you with the babies on it. I can take the babies part of the process.
I'm active, man.
You're right. You're
an active father. You gotta be.
Amen. I see you.
Thanks for paying attention.
But the question is, that's a huge jump to take your family through that.
Yeah.
How did you talk your wife and let her know that this was the right step for you?
My wife and I are really supportive of each other, and our relationship is very much a partnership in so much as if either one of us is really called to really move to be a part of something, to endeavor to do something, I mean, we try to figure out how to be supportive of each other. I mean, when she was working and decided, I think it's going to be best for me to be a stay-at-home mother, and full-time parent, there's a life adjustment.
That's a real job too.
It's a super real job. It's a big job, right? But it's also, she's a veterinarian, right? And so to have a career change like that, it's just something that we processed, and we said, I wasn't going to stand in the way. She's an amazing mom, and so I wanted to support her in that, and it's a blessing for our family that we have the ability to be able to do that. And we've both been through different, whether it's career, job changes for me or job changes for her. But part of her making that transition was knowing that that's going to allow our family to be able to better support the level of busy that is campaigning for mayor, which I didn't actually, she had the foresight, right? She sort of told me later, she was like, this is obviously why I decided. And I was like, oh, you're really smart. And so, as I'm running for mayor, it's huge. It's a huge commitment for the family. And I'm grateful that she is as supportive as she is. But, I get up every morning and make a hot breakfast for the family.
See, this what husbands want to know, right? So walk us to this part. So how do you keep the marriage going? What are you doing? So you waking up, baby, I'm running for mayor. I want to be the mayor. I want to be the mayor of the city. I want to be owned really by the city. Yeah. And I want to be your husband too, by the way. Yeah. You making this work at home. You should write a book about how you're doing that, bro.
Wow. I'll keep you posted.
Please, that's fine. Let's change subject a little bit. August 16th. Yeah. You announced. Not your official. I know you announced in July, and you did your video and what you put the code on. I'm Maurice Cheeks and all that stuff.
You want me to teach you how to do that?
Yeah. I'm not coding now. I'm too big for that, bro. But yeah, it was a great video.
Thank you.
It was cute.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It was cute. Tell me, when you announced, you had about 150 people in that room.
Yeah.
You had a couple Madisonians introduce you, which I think is important. Astra Kunray, who's actually Eugene Park's niece, and so that you had some history in that room. How did you feel announcing to be mayor? You could be the first Black mayor of Madison. You have 150 people in a room supporting you. How did that feel?
It felt beautiful, man. It really. And there was a lot that led up to that event, and a lot of volunteers to help make it possible. And so I was really grateful for all the folks that helped to plan for the event and helped to recruit people for the event. But to step up there and stand tall and deliver, so to speak, in front of the community and say, I'm ready, I'm excited, and I'm going to be your next mayor. It was fun. I mean, honestly, it was fun. It was like, in some ways, it was sort of a weight off my shoulders. I've been waiting to say that to the community for a minute. It's been something that my family's been talking about for, well before August, 16th. And so to be able to put on that skin, to sort of step into that moment. Honestly, you'd be surprised if it was like a relief in some type of way. But to have, that big of a crowd, I mean, there's no way to anticipate that. I mean,
yeah, you never know. It could be 5 people show up. You just never know, right? You were just hoping.
I've never seen announcements like that before.
I can't remember someone for mayor having an announcement like that. That was impressive. It was impressive. So you announce. Now the real work begins.
For sure.
And then Mayor Sullivan, was he still in at that point, or was he out?
So when I announced in July, he was still assuming, he was still running for governor.
I remember his comment, right? So in August.
But by August, he had already lost. He was already done with the governor's race, and that primary was ended, and so he was already clearly out. Okay. Yeah.
So at this point, Mayor Sullivan is basically leaving, right? He has a huge legacy. No matter what anyone's perspective of, he will go down as one of the best known mayors of Madison. He's part of old Madison in a lot of ways. Madison has changed just in my lifetime, so it's really changed over his lifetime being a mayor. What does that mean, his legacy leaving, You come in and say you want to be the new mayor of the new Madison, which is all these different changes. What is that new Madison, and what could you bring to the table to take the legacy of with all the things he has done before, and the Madison it was now then into the Madison now? What does Mayor Maurice Cheeks do to help us deal with those changes for the new Madison?
Yeah, so you brought up Paul. It's definitely worth acknowledging that, he's been mayor off and on for, something like close to 50 years, right? And coming in and out, and being reelected as many times as he has, you have to give him his due as one of the most effective, politicians, if nothing else, to be able to get it done like that. And so, his legacy will be written about for a long, long time. Madison's in a really exciting moment. It's a really important moment for our city, right? We are experiencing, tremendous growth and rapid diversification, and people are. This is what I'm hearing. People are excited about the future, but the challenge in front of us is that. With being a growing city, there are challenges and opportunities that abound, right? The greatest challenge in front of us is that we are experiencing, you can feel in so many ways that we're becoming a city of haves and have-nots. A recent article in the New York Times, I think, had just said, Madison's the best place to raise a family.
I heard that the other day. Yes,
yeah.
I heard that from some people.
So the reality is, we just can't simply continue to be a city that's constantly regarded as one of the best cities in the world and the worst cities in the world, depending on who you are, depending on the color of your skin, depending on whether you're a have or have not, whether you're white or black or whatever the case may be. We have to be discontent with that trajectory that we're on. And so, from my perspective, I'm really excited to bring to bear my experience in the private sector, as a champion for our schools, and as a successful policymaker in Madison, to sort of harness and focus on that exact problem. As a father, we have to make it our number one priority to be building a city that is going to be better for the next generation and is going to be more inclusive for the next generation. That's the number one challenge that we have, is to change the trajectory of the city between, right now, as you probably know, the only two socioeconomic demographics that are growing in our city: households making more than $100,000 a year, households making less than $30,000 a year. If we're going to live up to what we think the city is or should be, we have to turn the tide on that, and we have to create opportunity for folks that are growing up here or living here or whatever the case may be, that are in that lower socioeconomic band, to have that upward mobility. And so that's going to be my greatest priority.
It's interesting listening to you talk, because Mayor Soglin, Mayor Cheslevich, was a Mayor Bauer, I think, before that. I never heard a mayor really talk about the things you're talking about. How do we bridge these gaps? We basically, you're saying, there's basically two Madisons, and how do we grow that? I've never heard anyone really talk about that we have to address those things. Historically, mayors, to me, in my perspective, in Madison, have not really set the vision for the city. And they really have never talked about economic development issues, economic issues, or education issues. So
you said they do or don't?
They have not. Not from what I've heard. Not really championed and talk about this sort of things we have to address. At least I think Cheslevich did a big economic summit one time, but really nothing tangible. So what does a mayor do? What do you do to make those things tangible, right?
Yeah.
That's not just a political statement. How do you say, no, I really want to get out here and impact these things, not just because the new race equity report comes out, right? So how do you make it real that people know you get it?
Yeah.
and that you really want to have an agenda to make some of these changes?
So the three greatest priorities for me as mayor are going to be advocating for youth and education issues, for prioritizing proactive safety and health as a city, and ensuring that we continue to grow as a more prosperous city and ensure that prosperity is afforded to everyone. So that's where you're talking about, education, economic development, right? We can talk about those. I mean, and we certainly can get into the specifics, but I think about, there's an African proverb that says, if a young person doesn't feel the embrace of a city, they'll burn it down, feel its warmth. And I think about that sentiment, as I think about some of the kids that I've interacted with in this city, whether it's in my district or folks that I tutored at Memorial. I think about, some of the kids' eyes that you see in the schools that just don't have hope. And you hear stories about 12-year-olds stealing cars and da-da-da-da-da. When, as mayor, it's important to champion policy agendas and political investments into programs and things like that are going to address this. But it's just as important to recognize your role as a cultural leader, to be able to raise the flag on these issues and recognize that when, the Jack Salzwiedels of the world are trying to recruit people to...
CEO of American Family.
Thank you. When business leaders, when families in general, when people are trying to recruit someone to move to Madison, you might have a job offer in front of you. It's a good job offer. You might be, something fancy, and they say, oh, we also have something that your spouse can do, right? It's a full package. You'll be sitting in front of your dream job, and a parent is still going to say, yeah, but I read about some stuff in the schools that I want to talk about, because I'm not sure if this community is going to work for me, if it's not going to work for my kids, And so as mayor, we can't be limited to think about our community in silos. We can't be limited to think about, how the schools that kids are our school's problem, or that economic development is something that happens without the context of education or youth or young families. Like, all of these issues are intertwined, and among all the issues that we're going to talk about over the course of this campaign, whether it's public safety or housing affordability or clean air or whatever the issue is going to be, at the intersection of any of these issues, we're going to be at the heart of it talking about inequality in our city. Because there's plenty of people who can afford to live in this, who have the experience in this community that these issues are less pressing for them. Our challenge is there's a significantly increasing percentage of people who feel that this city doesn't work for them, that there's not upward mobility for themselves or their kids or their family. I mean, you know this perfectly well, talking about families. One of the most tragic things to me is hearing from young parents, or even worse than that, hearing from parents that have lived in this community for a long time, parents of color, who are saying, I don't know if I want my kids to stay here. You've heard that before.
Yeah.
And that's because we're not doing something right. That's because we haven't demonstrated a commitment to being a city that works for everyone. And these, folks who are growing up here, who are living here, feel like this city was okay, but it didn't live up to the hype. That's got to stop, And so through collaboration, through leading with and through our partners in the private sector, in the education K through 20, right, sector, and through City Hall, we can raise the bar for what it looks like to be a modern American city that works for everybody.
So two more questions. One, so I know when you went for mayor, you're not a Democrat, you're not a Republican, and all that stuff. But I've looked in your face, but I've seen pictures of you and Cory Booker, I've seen you and Senator Tammy Baldwin, Pocan. You've been around some knowledgeable people.
Yeah.
Have they given you advice about running for mayor? And where does that put you on the spectrum? If I'm someone who's watching that, do you consider yourself a far left guy? Are you a medium? Like, you're a progressive? Are you conservative? Where do you think you land in that spectrum? Because you have so many different people backing you and supporting you. I just know you as Mo, but for people on the camp, where does that leave you in that spectrum?
So to answer your first question, I'm forever grateful for all of the experienced, not only politicians, but just community leaders that have picked up the phone over not just the past 2 months, but over the past several years when I've asked for advice. And likewise have reached out to me directly and said, how can I be helpful to you as you're trying to navigate, as you're trying to make an impact? Because, I see you making moves or whatever. And so, there's a lot of folks that, the folks that you mentioned are sort of household names or whatever, but there's a lot of folks that don't have household names that have been really, really helpful as well. I'm a pro-growth progressive Democrat. I believe strongly that the way that our community is going to continue to thrive, and for that matter, the way that our country is going to continue to work for more people, is by being a place that is dedicated to people and working class and regular people. We've tried what it looks like to cater to the power that comes with wealth, and the future of the Democratic Party is not going to be that. The future of Madison's not going to be that. So I'm excited to. You're totally right. It is a nonpartisan race. It's a spring election. So I don't get, as a part of a spring election, I don't get the privilege of knocking doors in beautiful weather like this. I'll be out there in January when it's frigid.
When is the election?
So the primary election is February 19th,
okay.
And then the general election is on my mom's birthday, April 2nd.
Wow. Well, happy birthday, Mama.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mama.
Happy birthday, Mama. All right, well, thank you for your time, Mo, Maurice, Mr. Cheeks, all the person, potentially future.
Mo Cheeks is good. Yeah. MoCheeks.com, in fact.
MoCheeks.com. I wish we had more time to talk about your name, Mo Cheeks, and the Hooper, Mo Cheeks, but it's a different time. So thank you for your time. I wish you the best of luck. I know your heart's in this. I know you have a great vision for the city. I'm interested to see what happens. I'm glad that your wife's on board and your family.
Yeah.
So take care of yourself, take care of your family, and keep standing out there in the road and make sure people can have access to you. I think a lot of times our mayors in the city have not been actually out in the community. So make sure that you let people have access to you and answer the tough questions. I think that's important.
So we'll be doing that over the course of the campaign, citywide grassroots campaign. But I'll be doing that as mayor too. I'm going to be a mayor who's tutoring in the schools. You'll see me.
Listen, you got the game plan already.
I'm excited about it, man.
Thanks for your time, bro.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Make sure you vote any way it goes. We have different elections coming up. People always ask me, why do you have different candidates on? We're not here to support candidates, but we are here to make sure you understand what these candidates are talking about on their platforms. But more importantly, it's important that you get out and vote. If you don't vote, you can't complain.